Hi, my name is Miriam Virgo and I am the author of the Naked Truth book, and welcome tonight to my Naked Truth series. And today I'm going to be speaking about the topic of depression. So once again, just want to thank everybody for listening. I'm just an everyday person who has published a story about my day-to-day life experiences, and I like to use my experiences in order to help other people. So when we speak about depression, I think the first thing that we have to consider is our upbringing and where we came from in life, who we were connected to. Your parents are the people that are responsible for nurturing you and ensuring that you have a good life, that you've got food on the table, that you've got a bed to sleep in, that you've got a roof over your head. So when you're younger, your parents pretty much care for you and make sure that you're okay. Then once you're born, obviously you're born before your parents start looking after you, but once you're born, you then might have a health visitor or somebody that comes on board to check that you've got the right temperature, to check that, you know, you're growing in the right way, and that everything that is going on in your life is pretty much right in accordance with the standards that the government might set, or the NHS, etc. You should be a certain weight, you should be eating a certain amount of food, etc., etc. So you're being monitored by a health visitor. Then you sort of get to about 3 years old, and then you might start going to nursery. And at that point, welcome to those of you that have just come, I'm talking about depression. So at that point, after you are 3 years old, you go to nursery. In other countries, it might be sort of kindergarten, I don't know, in the States, preschool. And then you go to primary school and you're monitored at primary school. They want to check your development. And then you go to secondary school and you're monitored there, and you've got to do exams to prove your worth. And then when you leave school, you might go to university and then you're monitored there. And then you leave university and you're monitored there, but then you go to work and you're monitored there. So in every area of your life, you are monitored by somebody. Someone's checking your progress. Somebody's checking your development. There are constant targets that you have to meet in your life. And because work takes up, I would say, maybe 80% of most people's lives, of those that are working, the pressure to perform can put so many people under great stress. Now, if you've got any extracurricular activities that you then do on top of work, now this might be skiing, you might like rowing, you might take part in some sort of competition, you might play football, you might go to church, you might have a ministry in the church that you are working on and helping with. And all of these things collectively begin to weigh you down because you're giving so much of yourself to other people. And the people that you're giving to have an expectation on you. And this expectation is what can lead to depression. Now, other things can cause depression too, such as bereavements, the breakup of a relationship, sickness, illness, certain medications, sexual abuse, physical, emotional abuse, separation, fear, shame, embarrassment. If you've been caught, people who might commit crime, they suddenly get caught and their face is all over the papers, the neighbours are talking about them, and they become absolutely mortified, and that can cause depression. You might have done something in your life that you never would have done in a million years, but you decide to do something you shouldn't have done. You could have had an affair, you could have, stolen something, lied about something. Then the guilt of what you've done, suddenly overwhelms you, and you start to feel depressed or ashamed or embarrassed. And all of those things can also cause depression. And the hardest thing, I think, is for men in society, because men very often have to be warriors for their family, right? They have to be the protectors, they have to be the providers, they have to be the caregivers. And the responsibility can be very difficult. Now, if that particular man never had a father figure in his life to show him what to do, to show him how to be a man, then he's being raised by a woman who is trying to teach him how to be a man. And that in itself can cause depression. Then he could go out with his friends and be expected to be a certain way with his friends, but then he could also be expected to be another way with his work colleagues. And then he's expected to not show emotion because, there's all this men don't cry stuff that goes on. And so men can internalize their feelings, and very often they don't have anybody to talk to about how they're feeling. So when that man starts to get depressed, that he might then go for a walk, or he might just start drinking or smoking or sleeping around or whatever, because he can't deal with the stress that is in his mind. Now, even at school, and this goes back to being monitored, you know, you think back to how old you were when you were at school. You're just a child, and your whole life can hang on some grades that you got when you were 16 years old. So if you're having a bad week, when you take those GCSEs or whatever they're called now, that can affect you for the rest of your life. People are still asking you about your qualifications 20, 30 years later. And we evolve as people, we change, we're not the same anymore. You know, I'm not the same person that I was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, right? But unfortunately, society keeps records of you. So you get men that go into prison, come out of prison, and they want to change who they are, but society doesn't let them change because their record says you are a criminal, you are a burglar, you are this, you are that. And that is who they are according to government records, according to society. So when that man thinks, actually, I want to change my life, I want to become a better person, he can't do that anymore because society is telling him, I'm sorry, but we can't give you a job because this is what your history, your past says about you. And there's no room in that past to look at why that person has done what they've done. And the same applies to women. You grow up, you're young, you watch Disney movies, you know, your Prince Charming comes along. You think you're going to have this perfect life. You get older, your parents can't protect you anymore because you're now at secondary school, and now the people that you're looking up to might be the most popular people in the school, the most popular people that are in the playground or whatever. You know, you don't want those girls to bully you, so you become like those girls so that you're safe, or, you know, you start trying to experiment with makeup or boys or whatever. But, you know, you make mistakes along the way, right? And it's the way society rolls. You know, if a girl sleeps around, she's a slut or a slag. If a man sleeps around, he's a bad man, he's a warrior, right? And you just get these labels that are put on you from a young age that by the time you grow up, it's embedded in your spirit. That is who you are. There's no room for you to be able to change. And I disagree with that. So if you're tuning in today, I'm telling you that you can change. And even if your depression has been caused because you have been a sibling who has always had to, perform, because no matter what you do, your sister's always better. No matter what you do, your sister is the one that is good and you're the one that is bad. No matter what you do, your brother is always all right, but you're the problem. And this can happen in families, especially where there's even more than one child, right? There always is a little favorite child that can do no wrong. And you could do the best. You could look after your mother, your father, you could clean the house, you could cook, you could look after your younger children. But no matter what you do, you are always to blame. And this can cause depression. When you go to work, you could get to work on time, you could work hard, you could do whatever they ask of you, but you get overlooked for promotion. That can cause depression. There are so many things that happen to people in this world, and unfortunately, mental health is something that is highly stigmatized. Now, depending on what religion you are, what community you're a part of, speaking out about things is a no-no. You know, I grew up in a culture where you do not talk your business. Everybody's like, you shut up. You don't tell people them things because they'll use it against you. Everybody's frightened of other people's opinions. So then you internalize what you've been through. You might have been molested by an uncle. You might have been abused secretly by somebody in the family, but you can't tell anybody because we've got secrecy going on. And these things can cause depression. And when you're depressed, it is a lot deeper than just having a low mood. Depression is a constant feeling of low self-esteem, a constant feeling of low self-worth, a constant feeling that you are not good enough. And some people say, how could that person take their own life? They were successful. You see, look at Robin Williams, a very famous actor. He made all of us laugh. He dressed up as Mrs. Doubtfire. He was in the film Jumanji. He did so many things, Good Will Hunting, but he killed himself. And everybody's like, how could this man kill himself? He made everybody laugh. He was the life and soul of the party. This is what happens. Your outside appearance is putting on a brave face because you've had to become an actor. Some of the best actors in this world are never, ever going to get an Oscar or a BAFTA because nobody knows who you are. Right? You're not known as in publicly known. But some of the best actors in this world are watching this live stream right now because you daren't tell anybody about that secret addiction that you've got. You daren't tell anybody about how much you truly dislike being in your marriage. You daren't tell anybody about how your children are getting on your last nerves and you can't take anymore. So you pretend. You put on this smile and everyone says, how are you? And you say, I'm all right. But inside, something is chipping away at you. Now, this is a fact. Every human being in this world needs certain things, right? If you look at a flower needs soil, a flower needs rain, and a flower needs sunlight, and a flower needs oxygen. It needs those things. Doesn't want them, needs them in order to flourish and grow. Likewise, as a human being, you need affirmation. You need someone to say, you know what, my brother, you're doing a good job, you know. You need someone to say, you can make it. You need someone to say, don't worry, I don't blame you for what happened, I forgive you. Everybody needs love. Everybody needs forgiveness. Everybody needs help and support and protection, someone they can rely on. But in this world that we're living in now, it's become a very selfish world. Certain communities, people don't talk to each other anymore. They don't help each other anymore. So then you have to fend for yourself. People kind of look down on you if you don't know something. All of those things can cause you to feel depressed. Childhood trauma. If you lost a parent when you were young, if your dad walked out and left you and your mum, that can cause depression. If no matter what you do in your life, you just feel like you can't get with it, you can't understand the latest technology, or you can't compete with someone else at work because they're cleverer than you, that can cause depression. If you feel like a failure as a man or a failure as a woman, if your other half has had an affair, right, that can cause depression. There are so many different things that cause depression. And the problem with depression is it is not a tangible illness that you can see. So because people can't see it, like a broken leg, you don't get any sympathy, right? You're called a snowflake, you're called this, or man up, woman up, you shouldn't be crying about that, you should be over that by now. People don't have sympathy. So you suffer in silence. And depression is more than just a low feeling. It is like a black cloud that is following you around 24/7. Some of you might go to the gym, right? And you might try to lift weights in the gym. Imagine carrying that weight with you every single day of your life, but no one else can see it except you. And you're walking around with this weight, and you're going to work, you're going to mosque, you're going to the temple, you're going to church, you're going to the gym, wherever you go to play football, and you've got this weight on your shoulders, but nobody can see it. And so they say to you, oh, would you mind helping me with this today? Oh, would you mind coming out here with me? Oh, can you just lend me some money? They don't see that you're already struggling under this weight. But I'm here to tell you today that God sees the weight that you're carrying, and he will remove the burden from your life. You do not need to suffer. You do not need to walk in shame. You do not need to walk in sadness, in heaviness. He's come to take away that spirit of heaviness. When you see people in hospital, sometimes they're in a coma and the doctors will say they've got a fighting spirit. Now, we're not just made up of flesh. This is just my human body, right? You're made up of spirit. You're made up of soul, and you're made up of body. And your soul is your mind, your will, and your emotions. Your spirit is your connection, the life, that the breath, or the life that is connected to God. If you have lost that disconnection, you will give up completely. If you allow your self-worth to be defined by things around you and people around you, you will give up. Barbara, I'm going to pray for you. I can see you say your son's got some major trauma. I'm sorry to hear that. When you're going through trauma, when you're going through disabilities, when you're going through sicknesses, when you're going through bereavement, someone has to be there for you. And it is important to have people in your life that can pick up the burden from you. Right? If you're considered a strong person, people tend to leave you alone because they say, well, you're strong. Someone said to me the other day, you know, Miriam, you're very open, and, you know, you say that you had depression, but you have so many followers. You have so many people commenting on your posts. And, you know, that is what society does, right? Society gives you an image that you can't possibly be depressed because you've got all these people that like what you post on Facebook or Instagram. You can't possibly be depressed because you've got so much money. You can't possibly be depressed because you're married. You know, what about single women that don't have a husband? And we have these wrong ideas of what should make a person be depressed. A very beautiful girl killed herself, I think it was about 3 weeks ago, a model in America. And she jumped out of this very high building and just killed herself. And everybody said, how could such a beautiful girl take her own life? And this is what society does. If you're good looking, apparently depression mustn't touch you. You know, if you have a job, depression mustn't touch you. And this is what is wrong with society. We're being encouraged to perform, and it's only got worse now with social media. It's only got worse now, right? Because now it's like, you have to be the next big thing. You have to promote yourself. You have to take loads of selfies. And the world is becoming very self-focused. When I grew up, we cared about the community. We cared about our next door neighbor. I've got a neighbor with me now. She will take out my bin for me. She still has that community spirit. She's got a loving heart, right? And so even though I'm a Christian and she's a Muslim, it doesn't matter. She loves me and I love her, and she shows me neighborly love. All of these things are important. So the first thing I want to say to you, if you're going through depression, is to take yourself back. Get a diary. Write down some of your triggers. Write down some of the stuff that you have never spoken to anybody about in your life. Write down whether you got abused, whether you were hit. Some of us were hit, right, when we were children, and we might laugh and we might joke about it, right? But some of the abuse was too harsh. That can cause depression, because it causes your childhood spirit to become stunted. Some people told you, you can't do this. You're not good enough to do this. It could have been your mother that said that to you. You're never going to amount to anything. You're never going to get married. You know, look at your sister. She's better than you. That can cause depression. Sometimes the leader of your faith might have said something to you. That can cause depression. Your teacher or your boss might tell you that you're not worth anything. You're a waste of space. That can cause depression. You need to write down the things that have caused you to start feeling depressed. That's the first thing. Then look at what makes you believe differently. You were influenced by one word, right? That word may have been, you will never amount to anything, right? Counteract that word. Reject it. You are the author and finisher of your own destiny. You don't need to believe the words that somebody is speaking over your life. If someone comes to you and says, do you know what, you're an idiot, you can say, I don't receive that. I'm sorry, you're not talking to me. I'm not accepting that. Because life and death is in the power of the tongue. Listen to positive inspiration. Go on YouTube, listen to some motivational words. Tell yourself, I am worthy, right? No weapon formed against me will prosper. I am more than a conqueror. Figure out what caused you to be depressed. My depression, I was in depression for 6 months and I wanted to take my life. I told somebody who was a Christian that I was suicidal. I even went so far as to take tablets. Those people that I told, it became a mockery for them. They laughed. They thought it was funny. They were spreading it around. Oh, she's a Christian and she's trying to kill herself. You know, this is what people do. So when you open up, make sure you're opening up to the right people. Right? Even as a Christian, there was a guy in the Bible called Elijah. He fought many battles and won many battles. And the words of one woman caused him to get depressed and sit down under a tree and want to end his life because of one woman's words. Be careful what woman is whispering in your ear. Be careful what man is trying to take you down a path that you've already been down. You know it's not going to work out. So get out of that relationship. Don't stay in it. You know? Don't allow yourself to be caught up in things that you know are not good for you. You haven't got to be burnt by the fire more than once to know that that fire is hot and it's going to burn you. The only way that I managed to get out of my depression was to start taking responsibility for what I could control and rejecting what I couldn't control. So when someone has a problem with me, I would get upset about it, right? Why am I getting upset? If they haven't got the patience to get to know me as a person, I don't care what you think of me, right? Not in a horrible way, but you are made on purpose for a purpose. Every single one of you that is tuning into this live, there's somebody in your life right now who needs you, right? And without you, their world would fall apart. But ultimately, your reason for being on earth is because God put you here for a purpose. So find out what your purpose is. When you find out what your purpose is, you will then know what your passion is. Now, you may have been sacked from your job. I've got a really good friend who used to be a really good athlete, right? Just because you can't be an athlete anymore due to your age or whatever, why can't you go and train other young people how to be a good athlete? Don't let yourself be put down because of your age, because that's another lie. Oh, you're too old. No, you're not. No, you are not. As long as you have life and breath in your body, there is nothing to stop you doing what I'm doing right now. You can sit down, you can speak into a camera, and it don't matter whether you got one viewer, right? Or 10 or 20. Speak your truth out there because somebody needs to listen to it. When someone in your family is coming against you again and again and again, you don't have to keep going back around them. There is a lie that, oh, you know, I've got to be a good person and I've got to turn the other cheek. And no, you don't. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. If you don't love yourself first, you can't love anybody else. Some of you are depressed because your expectations are all wrong. You expect people to do what you do for them. So because you're a kind person, and because if it was you, well, I would have invited her to my wedding, then you're upset that they didn't invite you. Oh, well, if it was me and I was having a party, I would have invited them. We have all of these thoughts that go round in our heads. You know, how many times, all of you on here, have you said, oh, I must call such and such next week? Then next week comes and you absolutely forget. Now, imagine that person is sitting in the house. No, this person's a fraud. She don't care about me. She's fake. She knew I was upset and she said she would call me and she didn't call me. That's the devil. Why? Making you think bad things. That person just forgot. Simple as that. They just forgot. It doesn't mean they don't care about you. Something else happened in their life and they just forgot. If you have a child who is being rude to you, how do you deal with that child? Set a boundary and do not depart from that boundary. It doesn't matter how they treat you or what they say to you. Stick to your principles. If you're at work and you've got a manager who is being rude to you, ask to speak to that manager. And if you need to take a witness, take a witness. Sit down calmly with the manager and say, I feel that you and I have a problem and I would like to sort it out for the benefit of our working relationship. If they don't want to say they have a problem or they think there's an issue, keep records and say, well, okay, that's fine. But on this day and at this time, you said this to me. And this day and this time, you said this, right? So you're showing them they have a problem. Right? But ultimately know your worth and your value. Do not become inferior to other people. Do not submit to people that are going to bully you and make you feel intimidated. Do not compare yourself to anybody else. The hardest thing we can do in this life is compare ourselves. That will cause depression. If you look at someone and say, oh, it's not fair. You know, she earns more money than me. He's better looking than me. Oh, she's slimmer than me. Who cares? Who cares? My Lord, you have people on the television now, big people presenting TV shows, right? You've got people in all walks of life that can make a difference. If you're saying, well, I'm overweight, great. Start your weight loss journey, document your weight loss journey, and take other people with you on that journey. There's your influence right there. You are a writer, you want to get your book published. My Lord, write the book. Don't worry about looking for a publisher right now. Go and start writing the book. Once the book is ready, the publisher will come. Honestly, do not allow things to limit you. You want to start baking cakes? Go on YouTube, watch tutorials. Whatever you have to do, don't sit there and say, I'm not qualified, I didn't go to school, I dropped out. Who cares? If you're a fit, strong young man, use your muscles, man. Go and paint somebody's house, lay somebody's laminate flooring. Money is to be made right there. Do not let anybody put you down. If you're with a woman and you're a man and that woman is calling you names, putting you down, making you feel inferior, come out of that relationship. Nobody should be making you feel like that. Likewise, if you're a woman and you're still single, praise God, don't watch that, because your personality, your heart, your soul, your mind, your development, there's something that you've got to do. Go and get on with it. And when God is ready, that man will come. But ultimately, your life has to be based on you, because you're born alone and you die alone. So what you do in between the gap of your date of birth and your date of death depends on you. Do not let anybody take your life prematurely. So right now I am going to pray for all of you because I want to come against that spirit of depression. So I pray right now in the name of Jesus, and I come against the spirit of depression, that spirit that's been holding you down, the spirit that's been telling you you're ugly, that you're not worthy, that you can't achieve anything. I bind it right now, and I command that spirit of depression to leave you because you are more than a conqueror. I lift off the spirit of anxiety. I lift off the spirit of sorrow. I lift off the spirit of suffering. I lift off the spirit of shame. I lift off the spirit of doubt. I lift off the spirit of fear, and I tell you, King of God, man of God, rise up. Queen, rise up in the name of Jesus. You are more than a conqueror. Do not let anybody put you down. Come out of that depression, right? Get up, wash your face. It is a new day, right? I command that cloud to leave you. You are worthy. I don't care who you are. You are worthy. You've got something to offer this world. I don't care what your dad told you. I don't care what your family told you. You are important. I don't care what a relationship has told you. You are important. Some people will put you down because they themselves are feeling insecure. So it's time for you today to rise up. I'm going to go, but I hope I've blessed you. I will definitely pray for anybody that wants to inbox me, but come out of that depression. Come out of that pit. Don't be like me. I stayed in there for so long because I let so many people's words get in my ears and in my mind and in my spirit. Absolute rubbish. No more. You know who you are and you're here for a purpose. You are irreplaceable. You are more valuable than rubies. You are more valuable than diamonds. Somebody could spend £1 billion and they cannot create you because you are worthy, you are unique, and you are special. God bless every one of you and take care. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.